All right, well, I will call the Lewiston Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting for April 22nd at 5:30 to order. So first item we have the agenda is the call to order. I've done that. Item number 2 is citizens' comments. So this is just an opportunity for citizens to address the commission with comments and or questions about planning and zoning commission related matters that are not the subject of a public hearing on our agenda. Do we have anything? I don't see anybody in the audience related. No email, snail mail, phone calls.
Nada.
Perfect. All right, that's quick. So then we will move on to our active agenda. Item A on our active agenda is approval of the April 8th, 2026 meeting minutes. I took a look at them and I thought they looked superb as always. So with that, if there's no revisions, questions, comments, I will take a motion.
I will motion that you approve the minutes as written.
I will second that motion. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor to approve the April 8th, 2026 meeting minutes, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, so item B on our agenda is approval of the reason statement of relevant criteria and standards for application ANX 26-1, CPA 26-1, and ZNC 26-1 by Joe Greco of Greco Land Development. Did everybody get a chance to look over that reason statement? That being the case, I will take a motion if there's no comment.
Dies for lack of motion.
Don't everybody speak at once. I will make a motion to approve the reason statement of relevant criteria and standards for application ANX 26-1, CPA 26-1, and ZNC 26-1 as presented.
Excuse me, I would just like to make a note that the reason statement is only for ZNC 26-1. The rest of the matters don't require a reason statement under the Idaho Land Use Act.
All right, well then I will revise my motion and I will motion to approve the reason statement of relevant criteria and standards for application ZNC 26-1.
I will second that motion.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor to approve the reason statement as presented? Aye.
Can I get clarification on who seconded?
I did. It was not me, so. All right, so item C on our active agenda is a public hearing on zoning code amendment ZA 02-26, landscaping provisions. So this is a public hearing, so I'll just explain the public hearing process really quickly. So I will open up the public hearing. I've explained the subject of the public hearing. I'm not going to strictly enforce time limits, though normally there would be. So after the public hearing is open, we'll hear a presentation from staff, we'll hear any testimony from the public if there is any, and commissioners feel free during this time to ask questions. Then I will close the public hearing, and just a reminder, once the public hearing is closed, we cannot take any additional information, and after the public hearing is closed, we will deliberate and articulate our detailed reasons for our proposed decision. So with that, I will open up the public hearing and we will hear from staff.
Thank you. So this is an ordinance, a lot of which you've seen before, at least the content of. There was ordinance that was recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission about a year and a half ago, and it failed at the council level. Since that time, and this was actually generated from the Comprehensive Plan Work Plan Committee. Since that time, we've made other changes, the council has approved other changes to the parking lot ordinance, including some relative to landscaping. But the mayor wanted to revisit the original proposal and bring back to the council to see if they were interested at this time now in incorporating the rest of what was originally proposed. So the council was in favor of that. So now we're starting the hearing process. The first amendment is to the definition of parking lot, to add the word contiguously to the end of the sentence, to the end of the definition. I guess I'd kind of want to make sure before we proceed too far, if the commission thinks adding that word is appropriate or not. The reason why I did it was because I thought if the parking spaces were spread out, it's not really a parking lot. And contiguously had been proposed before. But if any of you can think of a parking situation where the 5 spaces are not contiguous, but that should still be considered a parking lot, let me know and we'll just strike that word back out. Think of any? If they're split up.
I mean, I know that we've had instances where just because of space constraints, people will put less than 5 in one area and then less than 5 in another area. But I find that usually if that is occurring, the only thing that we're really like missing out on would be interior landscaping.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're not so big that you really need to create, you know, a shade benefit because of the amount of asphalt.
Right.
And there's also usually in those instances still some sort of perimeter landscaping that does provide a shade benefit. That's the only time I can really think of it occurring is in smaller groupings where maybe just because of space constraints around a building, they put a couple here and a couple somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I don't know that there's a detriment to doing that.
Yeah. Okay. So at section 37-153A, you see some amendments there. Some of it is relocating language that's already in there, just moving it around. Some of it is to emphasize priorities on certain benefits of landscaping, adding stormwater runoff as a benefit to the landscaping. And then at section 37-153B, that's just doing a cleanup of the language there. We don't need the reference to the number of vehicles or the square footage of the parking area because that's in the definition. So having it here is just redundant, so it's removing that redundancy. The next one down, just some clarification language. Nothing big going on there. The only real substantive thing there is the last line on the bottom of page 1. You can see 35 is stricken in favor of 30. So that is the spacing of the shade trees. So it's a reduction in the spacing, which ultimately results in more shade trees being planted. And again, that came out of the Comp Plan Work Plan Committee, which involved local landscape contractors and the chair of the Urban Forestry Commission. On the next page, you got a change to the numbering system up toward the top. And at the bottom of page 2, I'm sorry, it says page 3 here because that's at the packet, I guess.
Yeah, it's back in.
No, yeah, it's page
Yeah,
30.
okay. Striking the entire paragraph at item C. And the reason for that is, again, it's a redundancy. The requirements for this exist in the individual zoning districts themselves and those regulations, and so there's no need to repeat it here. And that's it. It's pretty straightforward, I think.
Joel, can you briefly cover what the council pushback was on why they chose not to approve it the last time? Highlights.
So they passed the first reading of the ordinance, and it went back for second and third readings and adoption, and there was a motion to approve it, and it was a 2-2 vote, and the mayor declined.
A 3-3 vote.
A 3-3 vote, and the mayor declined to break the tie.
There had been some amendments to like increase the number of parking spaces that would constitute a parking lot.
There was also,
The pushback was for stuff that's not in this one because it's already been adopted by the council after,
in
later.
subsequent ones.
Yeah.
There was a pushback, I mean, anything that required.
It's been like this.
The council did not, well, I think 1 or 2 members of the council did not like items that they perceived as being perhaps more expensive to a business owner or developer.
Yeah,
Well, anything planted is gonna be expensive because you have to water it.
Correct.
There is also concern, from what I recall, about the lack of input from the business owners that would potentially be subject to this.
But we weren't doing retroactive, we were doing forward thinking, correct?
That's what the comments.
Then how in the heck do you hold the future business owners?
you really don't. I mean,
Well, I think you'd see developers coming in to have a say. I mean, if the way I'm reading this and what I'm seeing is some of the same concerns, right? If you're gonna do this, like, one of my questions right out of the gate is why are we doing a 5-foot wide strip for landscaping between, as a buffer? Because that's just taking up more parking space, right? So now the parking lot has to be bigger in order to be smaller.
yeah.
And then you're gonna add the interior things, which means it has to be even bigger to be smaller.
Yeah.
And then you have stormwater runoff, which is great, but if you're planting all these trees everywhere, then you have all the leaves that fall down into the storm drains. So
Well, the
it's-
stormwater can also go in those planting areas.
Right,
Yeah.
so I mean, just picking up some of the things I'm seeing here, but I would assume that people that are developers thinking about developing big parking lots, usually you're gonna get something bigger than 5 spaces, they're gonna look at this and go, well, now I gotta irrigate it. I'm gonna lose this space for a 5-foot, I don't know why it couldn't be 2 or 3 foot.
That was actually a suggestion by the landscape contractors that came in. They
Yeah.
said, if you want a tree to live, it needs to be bigger.
Right, and that's, and I'm just throwing stuff out there at this
Yeah.
point, but I could see where some of those concerns were coming from.
Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong, there were landscapers that were a part of the steering committee that
yes.
developed this.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's where like the increase in size to the landscape strip came from, because they were like, really, it makes
That
more
was
sense to have a
from
bigger.
2 to 3. This
Yeah,
5
and then-
has always been 5, and it's proposed to stay the same.
Yeah, and then the reduction from the 35 to 30, that was also a suggestion by them. I think that that's the standard in other jurisdictions that they work in. And they're like, that makes sense for, I guess, tree cover.
Yeah, well, to meet the
Also
50%
gives them more
shade
money
coverage.
because they're working more.
It helps.
Well, and I will say in my time on the council, or the commission, trust me, if a developer has a complaint about landscaping, et cetera, we hear a
They're not
lot
shy.
about it over and over
Yeah.
again. So they certainly do argue the points that would prohibit them from doing what they want, yes. Anyway, thank you, Jill, for that. I was just trying to figure out why, if we are tasked with addressing things across the city, and we were asked to do so, it fails when we do the tasks. So thank you for explaining that.
Any other questions?
So this is a legislative matter, so there's no reason statement required,
Okay, so it is just
and it's making a recommendation to the council.
is there any public comments one way or the other
No.
on this, Don? Okay.
We do have members of the public here. Do we know if they're commenting on this matter?
If they're here for the next matter.
I mean, if you'd like to share.
Yeah, what's your view on landscaping?
Comment.
With that, are we all comfortable closing the public hearing and discussing? Alright. Then I will close the public hearing and we can discuss. I kind of feel like we've hashed this out before, and as somebody who was on the steering committee, I'm kind of biased, so.
Well, I'll weigh in how the staff has addressed the why behind these decisions, not only referencing the comprehensive plan, but again, collection of stormwater, barren asphalt scapes, which we have plenty, and again, making the community tremendously more appealing, I think, just visually rather than, a scream through a freeway.
Yeah.
And I am doing my part as a personal homeowner on my half acre. We're gonna keep it a city of trees if I've got anything to say about it. So, yeah, I think that it really does make a lot of sense. And for the health of the city and the health of the residents. Something that you just don't want to be down in a dingy community, you want to be.
I do have another question. Because I'm looking at the language which is struck, which is current existing language, in code. The only change that I see is slow stormwater runoff and then it strikes in redevelopment. So what is gonna constitute redevelopment of a parking lot? Like, at what point do you get to the redevelopment phase that's gonna force, it's like somebody buys the Kmart building.
Yeah.
That's
they
the one
wanna
I was thinking
redevelop
of
it.
too, yeah.
So if they wanna redevelop that, they're gonna have to come to this new current standard.
Yeah,
So what constitutes redevelopment? At what level do they
that's
hit
not
that?
shown in here, but there's a definition in the zoning code of parking lot reconstruction. That's where it would come from. However that definition reads, I don't remember.
Spouse and I were just talking about the development of the mall or the Kmart parking lot because that is one of our asphalt barondscapes.
Right.
And imagine putting something next to the Wendy's, a smaller, population of vendors. And I could see them starting to put in some dividers and some trees. Well, it's one of the more vast, at least the
Yes,
one up by
yeah.
Safeway is still pretty. And the, what is it, Payless?
Shopco.
Shopko, thank you, Shopko, yeah, that one's another one that jumps to mind, so.
Well, we did have another parking lot that was redeveloped that fell within the current exception, but, and they attempted to, even took out the access, and they attempted to say they didn't have to do any kind of new improvements, even though they took out the access for the driveway. So there was a little bit of back and forth, because they were trying to claim that they fell under the exception. But to the extent they removed something that was existing, we made them replace at least the existing entry. But we didn't make them comply with the other current parking lot standards because they otherwise did fall under the exception.
What is the exception now, if you know?
There isn't any. It got taken out of the code after that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it was like properties developed before
A certain date.
a certain date that were more than like 5,000 square feet. And they took,
Prior to 1984.
30 years, 30 plus. I mean, obviously, like I said, I don't have an issue with it, so I think we're just circling back on it, so.
Looking back myself over my time on the commission, I can think of the downtown, was it not ATK Sphere, CCI? The-
Howell machine?
Yeah,
Or
they put in that big warehouse and,
Yeah.
yeah, and they have, I noticed they were finally starting on the street side
Yeah, they put the benches in.
benches and, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's nice. I mean, when we have to go through the corridor of downtown
Yeah.
industrial sections, it's nice. It's quite appealing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with what's the language is of this. I guess my only struggle is not, since I don't know what constitutes redevelopment, right? If we go back to Kmart, somebody buys that building, if they just resurface it, does that constitute redevelopment? Or do they have to tear it out? Because if you're gonna make them do all this interior stuff, it's gonna be super expensive, because if they're gonna put in light poles or landscape layer, they're gonna have to cut all that asphalt to get all that stuff trenched in, and it's gonna be a huge cost burden on businesses that are trying to move into City of Lewiston.
Well, and I was thinking more of like smaller, like another Wendy's or smaller vendors, food vendors, et cetera, popping themselves into, because we have banks that put themselves into the smaller
Right.
strip malls and those type things. So I think addition would probably certainly come under redevelopment if they're changing
They were
approach.
building a new building.
If they're putting a new building in the middle of one of those broad parking lots, if they're changing egress or exits, right?
They tear a building down and put in a new building.
Yeah,
Yeah, I-
predominantly
I get that.
larger.
But like if somebody just wanted to buy Kmart, turn it into Bass Pro Shop, and leave the parking lot alone other than resurfacing it,
Good to go.
okay, that's, okay.
I think just a reimagining
Right.
in some fashion.
Yeah. Which that property could definitely use, I mean.
We got a few of them.
I know we're picking on that one, it's not the only
600,000 square
one.
feet?
No, I mean, even up by Shopko,
Yeah.
where they've moved vendors, or not the vendors mall, yeah,
Farmers market.
farmer's market.
Yeah.
It's a hellscape as far as heat
Yeah.
and, you know, everybody brings their kids in wagons and dogs and it's not,
Yeah.
Well, you can see the difference between like the parking lot in front of Shopco and the one in front of Winco. When Winco built, they were required to meet the standard with the landscaping, and it just looks a lot nicer.
well, I noticed recently courthouse, the new
Yep.
downtown, and what happens, and I think we've discussed this many times previously, is what happens if you're parking in a parking lot when it's 114 out, and you work in the building and you know your car is gonna sit all day and
You're
bake.
gonna-
You look for the trees, you look to park under the trees, you'll deal with the have to wash the car body just to get the shade, so.
Yeah.
And you'll see that every time you go to Walmart or, you know, any of those larger locations. So I am all for that.
New discussion, commission? Ready to make a motion? Open to a motion.
I am going to motion to approve,
Recommend approval.
the recommend approval to city council on the changes as presented.
I will second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval of zoning code amendment Z8 02-26-1 to the Lewiston City Council. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right, motion carries. Moving right along. So item D on our active agenda is another public hearing. This is a public hearing and subsequent deliberation and direction to staff regarding the reason statement for conditional use permit CUP 26 or CUP-26-3 Clyde Bennett Manley. So I've already explained the public hearing process. It's the same. So with that, we will open up the public hearing and hear a presentation from staff.
There we go. Okay. Good evening, Commission. Katie Hollingshead, Assistant Planner. Tonight I'm bringing you CUP 26-3. This is a request for multifamily in the R2A zone. The request specifically is to add a third dwelling unit to an existing duplex at 3537 13th Street C. So like normal, turn the thing on. There we go. We will go through some maps and then some photos. So our subject property is located at the corner of 13th Street C and Grell Avenue. So it's right here on my little mappy map. It is 1 block east of Grell Avenue and Thane Road intersection. So Grell Avenue along this strip is a collector street. 13th Street C is a local road. Thane Road is an arterial street. So a little closer up photo of our subject property. So subject property currently contains a duplex. It is 13,050 square feet in size, 90 feet by 145. The R2A zone requires 10,000 square feet for a duplex, an additional 4,000 square feet for each unit over 2. The applicant is requesting a waiver of 950 square feet from that 14,000 square feet minimum lot size. Subject property is currently serviced by the Lewiston Orchards Irrigation District for water and the Central Orchard Sewer District for sewer. Moving along, this is our zoning layer turned on, so same map. Subject property is located in our low-density residential R2A zone, which is the lovely yellow, and is a short distance away from our community commercial C3 zone, which is this red area along the Thane corridor. Surrounding properties are mostly single-family dwellings. There is a cluster of duplexes up here to the north where 13th Street C intersects with Cedar Avenue. And then to the west are commercial uses along the Thane Road corridor. And then looking at our future land use map from the comprehensive plan, subject property is located in our neighborhood commercial designation, and residential multi-unit is a supporting use in that land use designation. Other items that are important from our comprehensive plan regarding this particular application are that neighborhood commercial areas provide a low to mid-intensity commercial services, primarily for surrounding residences. More intense and larger scale businesses should be located at intersections of collector and arterial roadways, so that would be our Thane, Grell situation over here. And then as you move away from that, uses shall be less intense. These areas may also provide a transition from more intense commercial or industrial uses to less intense and smaller scale residential uses. The suggested residential density range is 8+ dwelling units per acre. And then the following essential considerations are listed in the staff report, such as location, access, compatibility. So under compatibility, the presence of residential would not possibly hinder future commercial uses on adjacent commercial properties. So like I showed in the previous one, we're about a block away from that commercial corridor. And as you can see on the zoning map, half of that block is residential in nature, but commercially zoned, and then it falls into that residential zoning. So then looking at some photos of the subject property itself. So this is the existing duplex as seen from 13th Street C. The applicant does not live at the subject property, does rent both of the units out, and the proposed third unit would also be a rental unit. And then moving around, this is the existing duplex as seen from Grell Avenue. So that third unit would go in this grassed area. There is approximately 60 feet from the edge of the existing structure to the east property line. As shown in the application from the applicant, he is proposing a 40 by 25 or 1,000 square foot structure. So that would fit right in here. That allows for both separation from the existing structure, side yard setback on this side, the 20-foot required front yard setback, and 20-foot required rear yard setback. And then just some other photos of the area in general. So I'm looking east down Grell Avenue from the subject property. So you can see single-family dwellings dotting our landscape there. And then looking south across from Grell, again, some single families. And then this building down here is a gas station that's on the corner of Thane and Grell. Again, looking west on Grell. So Grell Avenue is a 60-foot right-of-way. It does not have continuous sidewalks. It does have intermittent curbing. There is curbing around the subject property and partially to the east down that block. But as you can see, not any across the street. There is some sidewalk up here. There's some sidewalk to the east across Grell, but it's sporadic. And then looking down, so looking north along 13th Street C from the subject property, which is right here. So 13th Street C is a 40-foot right-of-way. It does not have sidewalks. Subject property does have curbing that goes the complete perimeter of it, but there is not curbing past it. So as you can see where this mailbox is, that's the beginning of the neighbor's property where those arborvitaes are. But subject property is fully curbed. Back up here. Those. Cover that. So going along with when I was talking about like the setbacks and the placement of the third unit. So the R280 zone does have a maximum lot coverage of 40%, which in this particular case would be 5,220 square feet for this subject property. Existing duplex structure is approximately 2,400 square feet with the carports on each end. And then the applicant is proposing that third dwelling unit to be about 1,000 square feet. It would not have a covered parking area to go with it. It would only have a driveway. So if developed as proposed, that would be about 3,400 square feet of proposed buildings, which is 26% of lot coverage. So it falls within the 40% and is able to maintain those setbacks as required. And other than that, I've covered all my bits and pieces in the staff report, so I would stand for questions.
Questions, Commission?
Build it.
So this may be more interrogative for the process, but if this is 26% of the square footage, but the lot size is 14,000, wouldn't that mean any size of property would require require this essentially? I'm trying to phrase what I'm
Is it,
thinking.
is
Would
it
require
because it
CUP?
has a duplex on it already?
Oh,
Is
okay, I'm
that
sorry,
correct?
okay.
So if it was a
So
secondary.
so basically what I'm asking is, if somebody were to come in with a similar request like this, but say the lot size was, no, never mind, okay, I figured it out, sorry, that was a
So
dumb
I'll just go
question,
through
but.
the zoning information just for clarification. So this is in our R2A, which is a low-density residential zone. So single-family dwellings or duplexes are allowed, subject to the square footage minimums, right?
Okay.
So it's 7,500 for a single family, 10,000 square feet for a duplex. You can do that by right. That duplex is there by right.
Okay.
To add additional units over the two is considered multifamily. And that requires the conditional use permit. As part of that process, applicants are able to ask for waivers of standards. So in this case, he has 13,050 square feet. R2A requires 14,000 square feet to go to 3 units.
Okay. Yeah,
So
yeah.
so the request is both for building a third unit and asking the commission to waive 950 square feet of the requirements so that he can build that third unit.
Okay, that makes
Does
sense.
that kind of clarify?
That
Yeah.
does, I was sort of figuring it out as I was asking you the question, but that, a much more succinct way than my brain was putting it, but yes, okay.
What, the R2A, is that the new zoning that you guys just did? Or what was it previous? Was it always R2A?
It's been R2A, yeah.
So if the applicant were to put on an identical structure, including a carport, he would then fall outside of the other criteria, the setbacks, front, back, and side?
Based on what he has shown currently, yes. So I think he perhaps has space to the north where maybe he could like reconfigure. But he's pretty limited to the width of a structure, just based on how much space is available and the setbacks that are required, both to be separated from the existing structure and not have to build firewalls.
Oh,
And then the setback that's required from zoning code for the
Yes.
side yard setback.
okay, thank you.
That was gonna be my first question, is he meeting setbacks for one?
Yes.
And then, if we knew, I don't know if he submitted plans yet for his design, but I was curious how big the structure is gonna be, but since he's limited already to what he
It's
can do.
1,000 square feet. It was included in the, in his application. So it shows a 40 by 25, so 2-bedroom unit, so 40 foot wide by 25 deep. And so that 40 foot wide fits into that 60 feet that are available, basically.
Works for me.
So if an applicant wanted to do, would it be considered an accessory building, or would it require a firewall install when it would be maybe 2 carports, or just an extension of the existing carport on the existing structure?
I don't know the answer to that because I'm not the building official.
All right, no. Okay, no, I'm just trying to get my head around what he's accommodating now, and it doesn't sound like it's much of a reach
No.
by just eliminating the carport on the third structure, yeah.
I just have something to say before you're
Yeah.
done.
Official words.
Yeah. Jennifer Tondano, City Attorney. I just want to make a note that its property records do indicate there is a co-owner to this property who has not signed the application, and that's Sophie Manley. And we will require her signature, and so any recommendations related to approval or denial will have to be contingent on receiving that signature as well.
I feel like that's probably doable. That's not what GIS said, though. 'Cause
I just looked it up.
I double checked it. Anyways. After last year, I was like,
Sophie or?
Sophie, Sophee,
Okay,
C Manley.
okay, thank you. Okay. Commission, any other questions? All right, well then, with that, I will open it up to testimony from the applicant if they would like to make,
the applicant is
provide
here.
any testimony, comments. just say your name and city of residence.
Hey, my name is Bennett Manley, and I live in Lewiston.
That works.
You want more information, or are you asking questions?
I mean, you're more than welcome to share if you don't feel that you need to, if you don't feel you need to provide any additional information, you're certainly not required to.
Okay.
Commission, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Well, good,
Yeah.
it might be interesting, at least as far as I'm concerned, to learn the impetus, what made you think of doing this, and what steps have you taken, you know, what's your rationale, reason?
It was a lot of yard that I was either gonna fence and have so pets could live there, or put a sprinkler system in, but it seemed pointless to have just a huge yard that nobody used.
Mhm.
So I wanted to make use of it instead of just leaving it bare.
I appreciate
I don't have any questions, so.
I'm good with it.
What about, do you feel that the additional signatures needed will be a hiccup?
No, that's not an issue.
Okay, thank you.
My wife is, she's 1 week
I figured by the
overdue,
last name.
and so she's at home right
A little
now.
busy right now.
Yeah.
No, but she's gonna be, yeah.
Yeah,
We could accept a digital signature.
okay,
Well, congratulations.
thank you.
We'll send it home with you when you bring it.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to come see me.
I guess the last question I might have is, obviously the new building, should it be approved, would have access onto Grell. And is there any issues with, that you see, would it share since you have curbing all the way around, would it share the entry point of the existing curbing? Would you have to seek
The existing curbing has an entry into that yard.
the blank yard?
Yeah, it has an entrance. I'm not sure why, but when I bought it, it was that way. And so I would just hope to use that same curbing and
Cool.
just move or put the driveway right there.
Yeah.
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 Makes sense.
All the lines up with the house.
Yep.
Has that always been oh, I'm sorry, I can't ask you that yet. Interesting. No, that's curiosity. Thank you. I'm good.
It does not show on maps, but I figured there had to be something there from the map, because obviously Grell is the access point to the property, so.
Yeah, well, no, I'm just thinking the size of the lot and the history of Lewiston, it might have been a home that burned or something, and
Yeah.
then somebody else developed
Yeah.
something new on it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It appears in looking at the, just the GIS for that section where 13th Street C has gone in, that those were probably all platted together because they're all the same size.
Okay, okay.
They're all 145 by 90 in a row.
Okay.
Could have planned for a shop when they built the first place.
They'd have been smart. I'm trying to figure out how to cut a curb and when nobody's around and not looking, so, yeah. Not that I said that.
It's not gonna be quiet.
Yeah.
I recommend a Sunday.
Yeah, no, thank you, I'm good.
All right, well, Dawn, did we have any comment from the public? Questions, concerns?
Actually, I guess I do have one more question. How do your
Please.
neighbors feel about this?
I've talked to both of them, and they both seem pretty okay with it, so.
I would say, looking at it, there's a great buffer with the arborvitae along
Yeah,
the
I was
entire
gonna
back.
say
And
that-
then anything that you're doing on the front, which is, this is 100% fully front,
Yeah.
wouldn't probably even impact it.
When I did look at the packet and saw this in the map, that was one of the first things I looked at was, is there a buffer to the neighbor? And there is, so.
There's also the lack of public comment, so.
Yes, that too.
Yeah, it's only when they're really bothered. No, it's a great plan.
So too. All right. Well, Commission, any last minute questions before I close the public hearing? All right, perfect. Then we will close the public hearing and we will deliberate our relevant criteria and standards. I have to always find that list. Okay. So relevant criteria and standards, question number 1 is the proposed use will or will not result in conditions that will tend to generate nuisances such as noise, dust, glare, vibrations, and odors, or if so, any anticipated nuisances will be appropriately mitigated. I don't anticipate any nuisances. The scale of the construction, it will pretty much be minimal, to be honest. So,
Is there any other information that was or was not presented to you today related to the possibility of nuisance? Or the need to mitigate such?
Testimony and citizen comment.
Negative.
I would also address the fact that in his discussion, in the applicant's discussion, the other potential option for use of the property was to allow his tenants to have pets and make it a dog yard, which would have then very likely created the nuisance that this will now eliminate. So yeah, alternative plan
yeah.
would be more likely to do so.
Item number 2, the proposed use is or is not a public necessity or is or is not justified by the applicant and deemed to be a benefit to the public. I'll say the proposed use is a public necessity and is justified by the applicant.
Affordable single-family rentals
Yes.
are
Are
super
definitely,
needed.
yes, in this valley.
And in that square footage, it'll be more affordable than most of the
Yeah.
land you're seeing.
And as we all recall, previously the city was trying to reach out to anybody that had a property large enough to either consider splitting or developing.
Yes.
And this falls within that,
Exactly.
with tweaks.
And there is a large list of staff items on why
Yes.
it would be. in-
Well done, staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to somewhere along the lines here in one of these numbers. I was just going to recommend that we put the staff report into the record for that, but yes. So number 3, the character of the proposed use, if developed according to the plan as submitted, will or will not be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located. I would say it definitely
Definitely fits.
is,
Yeah.
yes, or yes, will. I think the laundry list from the staff report, along with the fact that it's just being an additional unit to an existing duplex. The square footage is reasonable, setbacks are maintained. There's nothing in it that suggests it's not in harmony with the area. We don't have anybody testifying against it. It's about as good a fit as you can get, in my opinion. Perfect. All right, number 4, the proposed use will or will not endanger the environment or the public health or safety.
Will not.
Will
I
not.
think we're good. Yeah. We've got curbing there for some safety stuff. Yeah, it's definitely in harmony with what's going up around there, so.
And again, the lack of testimony.
And again, the scope of the construction is minimal, so.
Keep pounding that drum out.
Right. Number 5, the proposed use will or will not be in substantial conformance with the comprehensive plan. This is where I would just say input the staff report into the record with the laundry list of items that show it is in conformance with the comprehensive plan.
Mentioned too, even, I mean, it currently fits in harmony, but it also, our future planning map also puts in conformance with
All right, item number 6, pursuant to Idaho Code 67-6512, the conditional use permit may be granted subject to the ability of political subdivisions, including school districts, to provide services for the proposed use. It has been mentioned that Lloyd and Avista are both providing current services. We did not hear any commentary from, say, the school district or anywhere else that they had any concerns. So I would definitely say I think the applicable commentary is in favor.
I would agree.
All right, number 7, the proposed rezone is or is not in conformance with with Idaho Code 67-6537, use of service and groundwater. I would say this is not applicable to this proposal. All right, well, so we've gone through our relevant criteria and standards, so with that, I will take a motion to move forward, Commission.
I will so motion to recommend approval of conditional use permit, so what's our number? 26-064.
3.
26-3.
Where am I at?
Does that include,
That's
so,
that's the request for legal services
Oh, I
number.
see it.
Oh, the
It's in the
JTC.
title.
Don't be highlighting that. Here we go, yeah. It's highlighted, people. All right, CUP-26-3 by Mr. Bennett Manley.
does that include approval of the waiver of the 950 square feet from the
Oh, yes.
14,000 requirement?
I would recommend yes.
Yes.
Including the waiver and of course, based on the additional signature
Additional
as.
signature,
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
That's my motion.
All right, so it has
We
been.
need to restate the motion.
It has been moved to recommend approval of conditional use permit 26-3 with approval of the 950 square foot waiver contingent on the signature of Sophia C. Manley. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. I'm not going to repeat what I just said because I'll probably butcher it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. It was an effort just to get it out the first time.
Yeah, it's been a long day.
Right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, so that takes us through our active agenda commission. So next is just soliciting commissioners for attendance of our May 13th meeting.
If somebody could just fetch me.
I should be here.
Put that on my calendar.
Okay, so May 13th is a go.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I'm good.
And apparently we do have a public hearing on the agenda related to signs.
You want an email picture of it?
Yes.
Yeah, that would work.
A sign, well, it says sign exception.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just need it in some way, shape, or form, so you can
I
either
do have a
never do it and then drop it off.
about signs, but
Take
maybe
a
I
picture
can,
and
we can
email
talk
it to
about that
me.
afterwards.
Either
Not
one's
me.
work.
Thank you.
Okay, 13th, 5:30.
Yep. And hopefully you'll start getting the emails too.
I'm gonna get ahold of Danny and fix that as soon as we're done.
I'm having a heck of a time because I sold the phone and I got a different phone and I can't separate it out the way I need to.
Well
Okay,
then,
so,
oh, go ahead, Kate, sorry, I jumped the gun on you.
sorry, I was speaking with the applicant. So May 13th is our next regular meeting, so you'll have a reason statement for CUP 26-3. We also have a public hearing scheduled for a sign exception at that meeting.
Yeah.
I think that that's all the things currently.
Do we have the documents for the sign exemption now?
You'll get them when you get your meeting packet.
Well, if my email works, yes. I'd like to have a little more notice than I got to read this
You
stuff.
usually get it a week before.
Okay.
Yes.
So on the 3rd, it'll come out that, whatever that Wednesday is prior. That's usually when everything gets sent to everybody.
It's also when it's publicly available for the public
For the
hearings. Yeah, you're limited to the public hearing and then the information that's publicly available. No outside research.
Which means you don't get to drive around and go, let me think about it.
But we can do site visits for public hearings apparently, so.
Please don't make me do that.
Let's just get a van, we can all just pile in.
Got one. 4-wheel drive.
I'll try not to make you do that, Katie.
Unfortunately, we can't do a city van because that would be against city policy.
Yes.
How many we got here? 1, 2,
Just please don't make me notice
Yeah, I can
more
fit
things
7,
than I
we're
have
good.
to notice.
All right, with that out of the way, I would take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Okay, question. I thought that anytime we have a billboard, an electronic billboard come in, it comes in front of this board. We didn't hear anything on the Carlton thing, or